Hi, everyone. This is Kyle Wallace with the Wallace Specialty Risk Strategies Dental Practice Insurance Program. In our last two discussions, we talked about the problems with the healthcare benefits delivery system, how to better contain costs, and also creative traditional options for health insurance. Today, we're going to get specific. Today, we're going to talk about the options offered by Clearwater Benefits in association with Wallace Specialty and Risk Strategies. Again, my guest today is Doug Sherman, co-founder of Clearwater Benefits. So, Doug, we've talked in general terms about health insurance benefits in this country, and today I want to get specific. All right, so my first question for you is, can you give me a brief overview of the type of plans available through Clearwater Benefits and how those plans compare to the traditional health insurance plan options that we're familiar with?
Sure, absolutely. So most of our plans have a very familiar ring to them. So there's a PPO plan, which we all know is a big network. And then there's out-of-network coverage. Unlike an HMO, we don't offer any HMO plans. We think PPO plans are better. And then there's an HSA plan for those who like a health savings account. And then there's something called a minimum value plan, which is basically a high deductible plan, but it's the lowest cost of all of them. So, our plans are very, very similar. They're structured very similarly. In fact, most things that you'll find are similar to major medical plans. And then there's a few things that are additive that are different. They're not, but in the mainstream, the type of plans are exactly the same, except we don't offer an HMO.
Very good. Okay. I want to hit on one thing that I think you briefly touched on that I think is really important. You mentioned in-network and out-of-network coverage.
That's right. That's right. And, people may not know this, but with an HMO plan, if you go out-of-network, there's no coverage. There's literally zero coverage.
Right.
And what makes that plan particularly dangerous for people is in today's world, many anesthesiologists are not in network. They don't join a network.
Right.
So we've had so many people, Kyle, who have come to us. They paid their max out of pocket for their surgery,
Right.
which might be the cap today is $9,500. So they paid their $9,500. They paid $30,000 of premium, and then on top of that, they get a $15,000 bill they have to pay on top of all of that. So we don't want them to be in that situation. That's why we don't do HMOs.
Okay. Well, you just mentioned a lot of expenses that people might have to come out of pocket for. And I know earlier we talked a little bit about a zero deductible option. And as unbelievable as that might be to some people, there are ways to do that. And can you explain that again?
Yes, absolutely. The Commonwealth Fund last year came out with a report that said 47%, Kyle, of Americans don't have $1,000 for an unexpected healthcare bill. And all that statistic does is it points out what we all know, which is for many people, it's one thing to afford the premium,
right?
But the out-of-pocket is a completely different thing that most people don't think about until they actually have a surgery. What we do not want people to avoid getting healthcare because they can't afford the out-of-pocket expense. Last year, in the same report, 30% of all American employees passed on getting health care because they were on an employer-sponsored plan they couldn't afford the out-of-pocket. So we want to stop that. So The way this works is a member calls our care coordination team, and we find out what their issues are. We send them to a specialist. We actually send them to a specialist that has good outcomes. Believe it or not, all doctors don't have good outcomes. We want them to go to a doctor, a surgeon, particularly that has good outcomes, and then they'll get their diagnostic, they'll get the surgery, they'll get their post-surgery, and all of that will cost them nothing. And everybody wants to know, how can you do that? How are you not going to go out of business when you do that? The whole secret to it is really simple, and that is ahead of time, we negotiate a price with the surgeon, which is usually discounted, and we pass those savings on to the member by saying this will not cost you anything. I think it's the innovation I'm most proud of with our plans, and we have a designer, the plan designer that we think is the best in the industry. Maybe not, but what she has done I think is brilliant. And this $0 deductible is good whether a person makes $50,000 a year or $500,000 a year. You know, the swing of 10 or 15,000 in a year is a big, big number.
Well, it is something to be proud of. It's creative, and honestly, it's exceptional. You know, something unheard of in modern times anyway. But in addition to that, can you tell me about some of the other features of the program that you also feel are pretty special?
Well, I think there's a couple. One of the things is, you know, we are used to primary care being, you have the sniffles, cold, you call the doctor, you hope to be able to get in, you go in, you sit in a germ-infested office, you wait, and you get the prescription that you knew you needed. And if you're taking kids in, you could diagnose it yourself. They need amoxicillin, but you still have to see the doctor. It's very time-consuming. It's very, you know, and you pay $15, $25 copay, and we offer that to people if they want it. But we have another option, and it's a concierge medicine. It's called Amaze. It's a company called Amaze, and you go on their website and see it's a very legitimate company. The other night, my grandson hurt his hip playing football, and we knew we needed to talk to an orthopedic surgeon. So they pull out the app. We have an app for all of our plans. They don't have to use it. They go online, but you press a button, and you're talking to an orthopedic surgeon. And you're explaining it, and maybe they'll do a FaceTime and have him bend this way or that way or whatever. And then he'll make a comment. He'll say, I think you should go to a doctor. And then he'll give them the name of the doctor, the address of the doctor close to their house, and even book an appointment with the doctor if we want. And then that concierge doctor will follow up throughout the course of treatment to make sure everything is being done right. So this is amazing. Now, teledoc is not a new concept. The idea that here's what teledoc looks like. You call them, they tell you, hey, you're going to be available between 5 and 8 tonight.
Right.
You know, and then you'll talk to a doctor. You'll never talk to that doctor again, but you're talking to primary care doctors. With Amaze, you could talk to a primary care doctor or an emergency doctor or any of the specialties of orthopedic, urologic, gynecological, any specialty is going to be covered, and that is free. It costs, and it's $365.24, and so anytime, day or night, and that level of care and attention, we believe will make better outcomes. But imagine my son was talking to the doctor, went and got a prescription, came home in under an hour. The whole process occurred in under an hour. Can you imagine if he took him to the ER room? I mean, they might still be in the ER room. And then that bill would have been $6,000 or $7,000.
Those are incredible features.
Yeah.
Really incredible features. So, Doug, our two teams have been talking for months to try to make sure that these programs will fit the needs and provide value to our friends in the dental community. Now, we also know that nothing is a fit for everybody, right? But we've done our best to make sure that this is as close fit as possible for most everyone in the dental community. Now, for people who want to reach out and find out more about the program, what's that look like? What is the process that they will be going through to vet this program for themselves and find out if it's something that will serve them?
Well, there's a couple paths. First, the first path is to get on the Wallace website. And I know you're going to give the directions on how to do that in just a few minutes, but to go on the Wallace website and set up an appointment with one of our health insurance benefit consulting experts and sit down and actually see the side-by-side between what they have today and what they could have. And we'll give them a quote. Typically, we'll get some information ahead of time. We'll be able to give them a quote very quickly, and they can know exactly how much it'll cost, but we'll walk them through the various things that are different, you know, and better and so on. So that's path one. Path two is to get to one of these consultants, but you come to one of the webinars that we're hosting, and, you know, there'll be invites for people to do that. And so either way, they'll end up talking to a consultant. The webinar is an interesting thing. They'll be with others, so they can't really ask questions about their plan, or we can't talk about hey, I have diabetes, what about this or that? We can't get into specifics. But what that does is it allows someone to say, is this even worth that half-hour consulting session? Does this seem to be reasonable? Does it seem to be credible? Does it have a major carrier behind it? Of course it does. Does it have a rich network? Yes, it does. But people need to understand that and know that. So whether you talk to a consultant first or whether you come to a webinar and then talk to a consultant, that's how we serve them to make sure that we get the right plans for them.
That sounds easy, and we wanted to make it easy. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done together, by the way. So thank you, Dob.
Well, thank you. I'm very proud of what we've done together. And you've built such an amazing practice, have such a great reputation. I know that Dennis will really appreciate the fact that you're helping to solve one of the biggest issues in America today, which is affordable health care.
Well, thank you, Doug. I appreciate that. And thank all of you, all of my friends in the dental community, for joining us here today. We really think that every one of you should look into this. If you feel the same, you can reach out to us very easily at rdphealth@risk-strategies.com. Again, that email address is rdphealth@risk-strategies.com, or just call us 972-346-0813. Everyone, have a great afternoon. Thanks. Bye.